At the engagement party, the giant screen in the ballroom lit up. The screen, which should have been playing a romantic montage of me and the new CEO, Darius Basinger, suddenly flickered to a series of high-definition, compromising photos. The photos were from my captivity 5 years ago, a nightmare from when I had saved Darius from a group of kidnappers. But now, the caption beneath the photos read, Nathalia Jesse's promiscuous private life. A woman with a damaged reputation has no right to be the matriarch of the Jesse family. The hundreds of guests below fell into a deathly silence, which then erupted into a cacophony of more. Merce. My God! What an utter disgrace! A tainted woman, like her, doesn't deserve to be part of the Jesse family. Darius, wearing a bespoke suit, looked down at me with condescension in his eyes. Everyone, although Nathalia Jesse is my fiancée, I cannot accept a woman who has tarnished our family, Lee's reputation as my wife. For the sake of the Jesse Group's image, I hereby announce that I am breaking off my engagement with Nathalia Jesse and stripping her of all positions within the company. The crowd went wild. Darius is right. For the reputation of our group. Before I could react, 2 security guards rushed forward and roughly seized my arms. A woman emerged from behind Darius. Ayla Carley. She was wearing the haute couture gown that should have been mine, a triumphant smile gracing her Lee. P.S. Looking at her delicate face, I remembered that winter 3 years ago. I had found her shivering on a street corner. She had been kicked out of her home by her family. So thin she was nothing but skin and bones, her Ace a mask of timidity. I took her in, paid for her tuition, gave her my own clothes, and even let her stay in the guest room. And next to mine. She once told me, Nathalia, you're like the sister I never had. I'll never forget what you've done for me. But now, she stood before me, gazing down with that same condescending air. Nathalia, you're not the matriarch of the Jesse family anymore. You have no need for a necklace that symbolizes a status you no longer possess. With a sharp snap, the clasp broke. The sapphire necklace my mother had left me was yanked from my neck and clattered onto the cold marble floor. I felt like a marionette whose fine clothes had been ripped away, leaving me exposed. Ayla burst out laughing, then whispered in a voice only we could hear, Nathalia, thank you for your pity back then. But now, your apartment is mine, and your man is mine. Stop. An enraged roar cut through the crowd. My father, the former chairman Antonia Jesse, rushed over, dragging his disabled leg. An old injury from a corporate battle where he'd risked everything to protect the company. He roared, Darius, you're lying. Nathalia was kidnapped to save you. How can you repay her kindness with such betrayal? Darius didn't even glance at him. With a wave of his hand, several burly security guards struck my father in the stomach, then dragged the former chairman, a man who had dedicated his life to the group, out like he was nothing more than trash. I've had enough of you, you stubborn old fool. If it weren't for you, my father wouldn't have died. Throw these 2 disgraceful people out, and from today, freeze all their assets. Darius wrapped his arm around Ayla's waist and turned to look at me, his eyes brimming with disgust. Let them rot in some rundown apartment in Queens and see how long they survive. The cheap apartment was drafty. A damp carpet clung to the floor, and the corners reeked of mildew. The rough handling had aggravated my father's old injury, and the sheer rage of it all triggered a.s. Troke. Now, he was burning with fever, rambling deliriously, his words a tangled mess of my name and apologue. IES. Water, water. He moaned, his voice weak. I searched my pockets and found only a few crumpled $20 bills. I rushed to the group's private hospital. At the entrance, 2 of Ayla's bodyguards blocked my path. Well, if it isn't the famous Miss Jessie, one of Ayla's bodyguards sneered. Hasn't the old man kicked the bucket yet? I lowered my head and held out the crumpled bills. I need to buy his specialized medication. Please, just 1 dose. If my father doesn't get it, he'll die. Not for sale, Dr. Hillary Reed snapped as she strode over. She was the head of the Jessie Charity Foundation. In the past, she had always treated me with deference, but now she stood with her arms crossed, her expression a mask of cold indifference. The CEO gave the order. Anyone kicked out of the group is barred from using our medical resources. I yelled, "My father is not a criminal. He's the former chairman. He was wounded for this company." That was the past. Hillary nudged her expensive leather shoe forward. "If you really want the medicine, well, this shoe of mine is a bit dirty. Clean it for me, and I might consider it." The shoe was stained with coffee and mud. A crowd of onlookers gathered. Some were even people I had previously sponsored through the foundation. And they pointed and jeered. "Look at Nathalia. She used to be so high and mighty, and now she's like a stray dog. Clean it, you washed-up princess. Stop acting so proud." I clenched my fists until my nails dug into my palms. My father's pained moans echoed in my ears. I dropped to my knees, my kneecaps cracking against the cold tile. Lowering my head, I took out my own handkerchief and began to wipe the filthy shoe. The bitter smell of coffee and the earthy scent of mud filled my nostrils. I fought the urge to gag. I wiped once, then again. A wave of jeering laughter swept through the crowd. "She's actually doing it. She has no shame." A high heel pressed down on my hand. Ayla had arrived.